Hey internets, it's Jake. This is Mini Terrain Domain, and welcome to MTD&D, where tonight we are playing the first of a series of original, unique Grung shots, as I'm calling them. They're just pun-tastic games set in the world of Tomb of Annihilation's Chult, and all featuring players who are Grungs. In this particular game, it's going to be very interesting because somehow I convinced the players that it was a good idea to roll 3d6 down the line for stats. So we've got some very interesting character builds tonight. But I've got a fantastic group of players here, and we are going to have some fun playing D&D for the next couple of hours. Tonight's game is called Grung with the Wind. Purely for the pun. So, without further ado, late in the evening on the island of Chult, deep within the jungle, nestled from the civilized portions of Chult and very far away from the port Nyanzaru, is this Grung village. Many Grungs of different colors are going about their day-to-day activities, what they would normally be doing near the end of the day within this village. And as we pan into the village and we see Grungs scurrying to and fro, doing their froggy business, we settle in on the first Grung. What is Glurk doing?
Glurk is standing in the little stream that runs near to the village, perfectly still. He's like squatting, and he hasn't moved for maybe a minute. And you can see that there's like a juicy, delicious looking fish kind of like eyeing him up, and it's moving kind of slowly towards him. He's got this like gross little frog spear. It's got like 3 prongs at the end, just like pointed sticks. And his like tongue comes out and it licks his right eye as he's like waiting for the fish to get closer. And then there's this enormous like splash as Burp, his brother, his tongue just like smashes into the water and like grabs the fish and like he hungrily like eats it. Burp is not really a Grung. He was born a little different. He's really a simple sort of Grung, and much bigger than most of the Grung around here. A very big frog. But to Glurk, he's his brother, and he gives him this look of like, I was waiting for that fish. And that's what Glurk is up to.
And as the splashing, gobbling ensues, the camera slowly pulls away and settles in on another young green Grung. What is Poop doing?
And Poop is kind of sitting on a rock somewhere in the center of this village, to no one's attention. He's kind of sitting on this rock and he's pulled out his tongue and he's going in a really, really awkward and loud and obnoxious tune. See, Poop considers himself a wanderer, and he's telling tales to his tribesmen about the many places he's wandered through interpretive song. But unfortunately, there's no audience tonight, as they find his croaking and tongue playing very obnoxious.
And as the camera moves away from that grotesque, barely melodic sound of Poop's tongue, we pan over to Famo, a young blue Grung. What do we see?
An outsider looking at Famo, though there are a few in the jungle, this rainforest, I believe. They would see Famo, a blue Grung. The blue Grungs are sort of the guild artisans. They would see Famo crafting a beautiful, sort of luxurious finely crafted chair. It's kind of like a throne that's carved from wood, hewn from a very big tree. And Famo is at the end of the day, and he's cleaning up and he's nailing in the wooden nails to kind of to brace this thing and to kind of finish it up. He's done a lot of the carving. This is like the finishing touches. Well, I said an outsider, but I meant if you were Famo, that's what you would see. But if you were an outsider, you would see a small blue grung hitting one rock into another rock all day, incessantly. And just looking upon it with the greatest of enlightenment, almost, at what beautiful work could be done in so many hours. And Famo would pick up his tools, his many sticks and leaves and whatever, and arrange them in a way that no one else would ever even consider is, arranged. And that's him cleaning up for the day, and he's going to go back to, wherever their tribe is and maybe see what's what I believe the red grung, or I don't remember who, but one of them, what's for dinner, basically, what everyone else has done, because he's accomplished so much today.
And upon the completion of another busy day, as he puts away the tools of his trade, we pan over to one of a few red grung in the village. What do we see Dante up to?
You would see a grung that was kind of the color of it's kind of an orangish red, kind of halfway in between. He'd be in his hut, a hut that is larger than most in the village. You would see his two green grung servants off the armor that he wears. The armor made of some type of a small scale, like a fish scale or a reptile scale that is quite expensive and quite sought after. You would see him slap the servants and insult them and even spit on them in a few ways as they take off his armor and they feed him and stuff like that. He's just kind of all full of himself the whole time, and just has his back to the opening of the hut, just not wanting to look at all the passersby, and just pointing out everything that these two green grungs are doing wrong, to the point where his voice is so raised that probably every other person here and every other person in the village can hear it, but I doubt anyone would react, as this is probably pretty common.
The rage of Dante in the evenings is well known in this village. Everybody, you feel the blessing of the goddess Nang Nang bestow a point of inspiration to each of you for those introductions, because you have a feeling she's blessing you, because you're probably going to need it. Flashing about in the stream, Glurk, I would like you to make a roll. I'm going to do this a few times tonight. I'm going to have you roll a d20, and I'm not going to tell you what you're rolling for. So just roll for something and tell me what you get.
So I dropped my d20 the second that you asked me to do that. So just 1 second. I'm going to grab another. Okay. It's a 14.
As you are kind of meandering away from the stream after your brother Burp has taken your fish, you kind of catch this, you notice this peculiarity as you step out of the stream, that the water seems to cling to you for a moment, almost as if it's a gel. As you reach your foot up out of it, it seems to hold on to it, and then it kind of slowly runs off and just kind of into the running water again.
So I guess he would, like, being a coward at heart, be very confused by that and afraid. He would, like, step out of the water But he's also naturally curious, and so he would like squat down at the side of the water, and he would just like dip his finger in it and then like swirl it around and try and pull it out and see what happens.
As you stick your finger in and you kind of swirl it around, even in this running water, it seems to kind of make the swirling patterns almost as if you were making swirling patterns in mud. And as you pull your hand out, it kind of twirls for a moment into the air, just a couple inches, and then just back down inside. Dante, I want you to roll for something. Actually, everybody go ahead and roll for something. Just roll a d20. And then you can either tell me your... That's a weird sound. Can you guys hear that weird sound?
Yeah, I could hear it.
That was very peculiar. I don't know what that was. Some kind of interference. The 15, is that your roll, Drake? Okay. So the rest of you are pretty much absorbed in what you're doing. And Dante, as you are, correct me if I'm wrong, you said your servants were removing your armor for the day?
Yes, they were removing my armor. They were washing me off. They were kind of dousing me with with water and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, and as they're kind of finished up with that task, you finally just going about whatever you're doing, whether you directly turn or just happen to catch a glimpse, you actually kind of catch out of the corner of your eye, out in the village area, you see Glurk, the way he's handling this water. And you get the sense all of a sudden, and this is not uncommon in Chult. Usually you have better warning signs, but it's not uncommon. You sense that a storm is in the air. But what's peculiar is you kind of as a frog, you don't really have hairs on the back of your neck, but you have that tingling sensation that there's something else, something mysterious, perhaps something arcane that is on the verge of happening any moment. How do you react to that?
I think at first he would kind of stand there and kind of look around, and maybe even close his big kind of bulging eyes and just try to feel what's going on, try to sense kind of what's coming, and noticing what's going on out with the water. He would look to his servants and he would say, "Bring all of the reds in. There is something coming. Make sure this one remains outside to tell us what happens." And he would just kind of usher them out of the hut.
No sooner do they walk outside than night falls, seemingly over the course of seconds. But it's not natural night. Clouds have begun to roil and seemingly form out of nowhere above the village and above the canopy. And flashes of lightning immediately begin to light the village as rain begins to pour and thunder begins to rain down. The village water source almost instantly begins to overflow with the rains that are the deluge that is just pouring down out of the skies. Lightning is striking trees all around. With every peal of thunder, it seems almost instantaneous that the lightning strikes, and trees begin to shatter all around you. Glurk and your brother Burp, the water seems to rise up and try to grab hold of you as the stream rises higher than you have seen, even after a night's full of rain. Yep, poop. Your rock quickly becomes submerged, and water begins rising up and lapping at you and grabbing at you. Famo, all of your tools are washed away by this deluge almost instantly, and so are you. A wave of water seeming to move against the flow, Dante, crashes into you, first forcing you into your hut, and then almost immediately sucking you out of the hut. All around you, you see Grung being tossed to and fro in the water. Trees that were standing moments ago begun just, it looks like a logging river suddenly, as pieces of this are everywhere. What was once houses and huts is now debris, flotsam and jetsam. And each one of you feel the rushing current of this sudden storm as it lifts you up and over the walls of your village. And you begin pouring out, and you see grungs all around you of every color, pouring around in every direction. With every flash of light, the strobing of this sudden maelstrom just comes in flashing images. And the camera pans higher and higher as the storm rages on. And we see that all throughout this area, around this Grung village, seeming to be the epicenter of this storm, water just seems to boil up out of the jungle and crawl and reach out in every direction for miles. You are battered against trees and rocks and other grung, some of whom you know are not alive any longer. Each one of you at different points feels something slam into your head, feels something crash into your back. And where you were in your village a mere 15 minutes ago, you all find yourselves now in utter darkness. Everybody give me a Constitution roll. And go ahead and throw those up in the chat. James says nat 20, total of 18. So Famo, you do not have any idea how much time has passed.
Yeah, so like Tuesday, right?
But you are the first to awaken. It is dark all around you. You are amongst the fronds of some jungle foliage at the base of a tree, kind of pressed up into the roots, submerged to your waist in water. You are sore. You feel the aches and pains of being battered around, but it doesn't seem as if you took any sort of significant damage other than getting knocked unconscious. What do you do?
I have any sort of dark vision? It's just dark and I can't see, right? I didn't know if Grung did, or that's my bad.
You know what? I honestly don't remember. Do you guys have dark vision?
I feel so much better about that now. No dark vision. Okay. So in that case, if I don't see anything, Famo would just begin looking around, like feeling around rather, being so comfortable in water, kind of maybe swimming a little bit and just trying to kind of figure out surroundings. I don't imagine that it's an uncommon thing for Grung to be in complete darkness and water. So he's not freaking out or anything. He's just kind of looking around for probably his compatriots, but in general, any sort of concept of what might be around him.
And after a few moments, you bump into a big squishy form. And you realize that it is the just now awakening form of Blurp or Burp or whatever it was. I've forgotten. Was it Burp or Blurp?
Burp.
Burp. Of course it is. And kind of sprawled across his belly is Glurk. Glurk, you are just now awakening with your brother as you feel the hands of another Grung kind of bump into you, kind of feeling around.
Yeah, I guess like I would feel like the rhythmic sort of like of Burp beneath me, and then I would like reach out my hands as well. And I imagine it's like this comical scene where like my hands are like on Famo's face and he has his on like in my eye and one in my mouth. He's trying to figure out who the other person is.
Yep, Poop. You're the next to awaken. You come to finding that you are dangling from a tree branch. In the darkness, you don't yet have any idea how high up you are. You just know that there is air below your feet.
As I come to, I just start like flailing my arms and legs and croaking like and start like spitting out the water that's just in my mouth and all in my esophagus and stuff. I immediately start croaking out in the grungliest language known as Grung. Pal, I'm in a tree. Just come get Poop down.
And this is the first thing that you hear, Dante, from directly above you, where you are also pressed up against the tree. You actually find yourself face first against this tree, half submerged in the water. And you hear this sound above you.
Why am I in water? What is that racket? It sounds like something's dying above me. And then I would yell to my slaves. I don't know what their names would be. Some strange grungly, Pip and Pop or some stupid shit. And I think he would just be looking around and obviously, pitch blacking me. Is it the evening? What? Why are we all wet? And I think he would hear all these people kind of moving. Someone bring me my armor. Someone bring me my staff. This is highly undignified. And you would just hear him just kind of good.
Oh, are we all seemingly near each other? Do we hear this? I saw Lloyd's character and we hear him yelling. And
yep, you are all within about 20 feet of each other, so you can all hear as each other are speaking out loud.
I would grab any item that was remotely shaped like a weapon, and I would bring it to him when he said, where is my... This is highly like I don't remember what he said already. Yeah, uncivilized. This is highly uncivilized. Where's my staff? Where's my armor? I would just grab anything, a root, whatever I could find, and kind of give it to him like, here you go. Or do my best to in the dark.
Okay.
And I think I would hear him coming, and I would be like, yes, faster, thank you. And I would just kind of reach out my little three-toed hand and grab. And James, what would it be? What do you think you would grab?
So I think it depends on where we are, but I like the idea that it's like as slimy as possible. If we're in water, this is like. It's like an old dead root that has like moss and like seaweed kind of on it. Like it's floppy. It's by no means could even be used by a weapon by the strongest of people. And I would hand it to you. And like, if you could see me, you would see the biggest Grung smile of self-gratification that you could.
And I think he would take it and go, yes, thank you so much.
It's right about that point that the clouds up above the canopy break a little bit, and a dim moonlight begins to trickle down from above, illuminating the area around you in dim light, and that's when you can kind of see the shape of what you were given, and you can kind of start to make out one another.
And he would see, and he wouldn't even hold it. He was just drop it, and the gook and kind of schmutz that was stuck to his hand, he would be kind of shaking it as you would hear it just kind of push into the water. And I think he would just be shaking his hand very violently up and down. If there was anybody close to him, that slime flicking around would have hit somebody. Probably Famo, to be honest. And seeing him there, I was like, I don't know you. Thank you for your attempt. And then I would just continue to look around for people that I recognized.
Everybody can go ahead and give me an insight check. Jeez, oh Pete's. Holy crap, what dice are you guys rolling with? 5 was the highest number. You guys have no idea what time of night it is. You're almost certain it's night because of the moon. But with that -3 wisdom, gotta love those 3d6 down the line. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's so rare in a game where that actually does happen. Where like, listen, you have no clue because you're actually not good at anything.
Yeah, right. All right, so specifically Dante and Famo, I need you to roll percentile. Roll a D100. All right. Unfortunately, nothing happens that you're aware of. So, as I understand it, the tools that you laid out, Famo, were pieces of equipment you were hoping to rely on.
Was that a question? Like,
Yeah.
were they think? Okay, not really. Basically, he was more or less doing what in his mind the rest of the guild artisans did by building stuff.
Okay.
So no, they were just sticks and random implements.
And unfortunately, Dante, you took your armor off right before the storm.
Well, someone else did, but yes, I am all yes.
So you are without armor, so you'll need to adjust your AC accordingly.
What is the base armor for Grung?
Armor is always base 10 plus dexterity.
10 it is.
Oh. Everybody just got squishy.
I was doing. Wait, do I have my shield or anything?
You might be able to find something to use as a shield. Unless you were holding it when the storm hit.
No. It was. I certainly wouldn't hold it unless I had to.
And all of you suddenly hear from seemingly everywhere at once. I can't do the sound. I was going to try to make a purr sound. I can't really make a purr sound, but you hear that kind of. That's a terrible sound. Imagine, if you will, a deep, bassy purr. And then you hear, poor little Grung, lost in the jungle, so far from home. Whatever will you do?
Immediately, Poop would exclaim, "Oh, that's the great giggly miggly Schubert beast!" Completely inventing a monster that he's definitely encountered in his wanders. And he would start to kind of flail around and kick and try and undo himself from being wedged in the branches of this tree, but he's kind of stuck at this point.
Give me a dexterity save. You plummet from the branch. You all hear that kind of flailing about, followed immediately by a splash. You don't take any damage. Actually, that's a good point. Dante, make a dexterity check with disadvantage.
Oh, disadvantage. All right, hold on. Gotta get another 20. All right. Roll a disadvantage. 12. It's not that bad.
You catch a foot in the shoulder as this form falls out of the branch above you and lands in the water. Neither of you take any damage.
Ow!
Oh, Poop is so sorry. Poop's so sorry. And he start cowering and bowing his head, and this massive acorn shell he uses as a hat is kind of super lopsided because of the storm, but still fastened to his head by the weird cordon he has on his head, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
You certainly are.
He kind of just squeals and swims away to some other tree branch trunk place to grip onto.
Glurk
he finds the big form of Burp instead.
Yeah, I think he would. He'd probably swim right into one of his big fat legs. But Glurk doesn't even notice. Glurk is terrified. He's heard this voice and the purr of a cat. And cats eat you. They just do in the jungle. And so he's terrified. And so he's even though he's on the back of his brother, he's crouched as low as he can. And you can just see his eyes darting in every direction, trying to see where the horrifying voice is coming from.
Poor little Polliwogs, lost in the storm. And these are the ones the jungle has chosen. It's times like this I wonder, what was the jungle thinking? And then you hear, and there's a flare of light. And it's actually coming from a tree across. You all have somehow managed to arrange yourself across about 15 feet in a semicircle. And except for Poop and Glurk and Burp are all kind of in the center of that. And then Dante's off to one side and Famo's off to the other. And across from you is where you see this flare of light, and it flares like a torch being lit. But it's not a torch. As the light settles into something a little more easy on the eyes, you see that it seems to be some sort of fiery gem. that has illuminated, and the gem is probably the size of about 4 Grung fists. But that is not the oddest thing about it. This gem seems to be set into the forehead of a large black panther-like cat. It's about 15 feet up and about 20 feet away from you, staring down at you. It seems to have its paws, the way it's laying across the branch. You see that its paws are kind of up under its chin. And then, what's that sound again? There we go. And then, as the light kind of begins to play around a little bit, because it is kind of ebbing and flowing a bit as if it's a torchlight, you see 2 more sets of legs curled up underneath this large cat. And in the light, idly shifting to and fro, you see tentacles from its back, seeming to just kind of meander about and flick, almost like a cat flicks its tail. Yes, it appears as though the jungle has chosen the 4 of you. What will you do, little Grung? What's the matter? The cat got your tongue?
I think Dante would step back, looking up, and he would kind of be searching around for a weapon or his armor and realizing that he is just basically naked, has no armor, no one to help him. And he would say, "And who are you making such mysterious claims? What has the jungle chosen us for?"
And at this point, Famo would speak up. And immediately, as though this were maybe what he did actually spend his time doing, Famo would very confidently almost be the speaker for this creature and say, "Dear brother, do you not know?" Obviously, this is what Famo thinks he speaks like. You can imagine what he really sounds like. "Dear brother, do you not know the great stories of Nong Nong and the trials of the forest? Do you not remember the signs of the storm before? Why, the wind picked us up and just deposited us in the middle of nowhere. Do you think not that this is a trial from our God?"
And you see this shadowy cat figure actually kind of jerk its head a little bit and kind of makes that look as its ears kind of flick and fold back for a second. And the tentacles kind of twitch nervously in the way that a cat does when it hears a displeasing sound as you're speaking. And this figure just kind of twitches for a moment and says, "I am the night. I am the shadow. And I, too, have been chosen by the jungle this night to watch over you." And as it draws back and its lips kind of pull back, revealing its teeth, you see for a moment the light dims and the cat actually seems to kind of just go into smoke. And then it just goes, and the smoke swirls, using an anachronistic comparison like the Death Eaters in the Harry Potter movies, but at a slower pace, and just suddenly it's standing in front of you, not 5 feet from you. You can see as its gem illuminates again, that it is standing on 6 muscular legs, and the tentacles on its back flip to and fro, spreading out. And you realize that you are looking upon what is essentially a displacer beast, seen or heard of one that talks.
You aren't the only one in this jungle with gifts. My lineage has been blessed by the divine for as long as the Grungs have been here. You aren't the only one with power, beast.
Beast!
Perhaps that is why you have been chosen by the jungle. What I believe this little blue one was trying to say, what you call Nang Yang. The name tastes terrible upon my tongue. But you must not hesitate much longer. You have already lost much time to the storm. You must journey back to your village, surviving whatever night terrors may plague you in this jungle. For the storm that cast you fro from your jungle was no ordinary storm. And it suddenly turns its head so that its massive head is in your face, Dante. You claim to have power. Yes, I can smell it on you. You will need it this night.
You speak in riddles. What do you want?
I want only to see that you complete your journey. You were thrown from your village into the jungle by an unnatural magical storm. Whatever caused it is up to no good back at your home village. If you wish to save your people, then you must run, little polliwogs. You must run now. For any beasts may stalk you in the night. But know this, any growl or purr or padding you hear will not be me threatening you. And suddenly it jerks its head back. And, hold on. It suddenly twitches its ears, jerking its head backwards. And you actually all hear beyond it in the jungle. You hear the sound of branches snapping and falling down into the water. And suddenly this creature that stands before you says, "Fly, you fools," and disappears into a puff of smoke. The gemstone that was illuminating its forehead seems to stay behind as like a ghostly image, and it just kind of floats down into your hand, Dante. It is now the size, like, you have to, it's big in your hand, probably the size of what a softball would be. But it is casting red light all around this area. What would you like to do?
I think I would take it in my hand and realize that this was something special. I would take it and take my other hand and actually cover it, just kind of hold it close And I would look at everyone and say, it may be time to thin the ranks, but allowing the village to be destroyed is something we cannot do. Would each of you come and do what this creature has said? Although I am powerful, I cannot do it alone. Even this one pointing at Famo probably has a use, even if it's only as fodder.
And as you're speaking, Glurk, I need you to make a strength saving throw at disadvantage as a shadowy form darts from the trees above and slams into you.
Okay, it's going to be 8 with disadvantage.
You are knocked prone, and in the dim light from the now partially covered gem, as Dante has kind of held it in both hands and shielded it a little bit, you see a large cat-like form standing on your chest. This cat is lighter in color, has spots all over it, and seemingly has tentacles, but what you can quickly see in the light appear to be half a dozen snakes writhing from its shoulder blades. And I would like everyone to roll for initiative.
Nat 20 for a total of 20.
All right, that's going to be, let's see. Wait, that was you. And then, so, yep, Poop, you're actually going to be up first. All right, you're going to be up first as this giant cat with snakes coming out of its back is now standing on Glurk, and I will put the initiative order in the side here.
Awesome, yeah. So I imagine that Poop has kind of climbed on top of Burp during this little cat speech with Dante. Maybe like hiding behind the base of the skull of the big frog. But immediately as this cat pounces out, he's just got his giant, massive whistle stick just in his hands. And he's going to go dunk and just smack it on the back of the head just out of pure reflex and bravado. This, Poop thinks he's, way more than he actually is.
Okay. Go ahead and roll an attack.
All right, so I got a total of 2 to hit.
2 was your total?
Yeah.
Yeah, you swing at this thing and just manage to, it's almost like these snakes a couple of them just kind of push away deflect what you were trying to hit with. And you've kind of drawn the ire of this thing. At least it's snakes, and the snakes are actually going to bite at you. And strangely, one of the snakes actually latches out and bites one of the other snakes. As I'm going to go ahead and roll damage on that. I just rolled a crit fail on that first attack. So that is going to be, it damages itself. And then growling and slobbering over you, Glurk, the jaws snap at you. And you're prone, so that's at advantage. And that is going to be a 22 to hit.
Just barely hits me.
So it bites at you, dealing 5 points of piercing damage. And you can smell rancid meat on its breath as it chomps its jaws at you. And it is now your turn.
Okay, so I'm on the ground beneath this thing. Glurk is like panicking, and he says, "Burp, save!" And Burp is going to try and bite this thing.
All right.
Burp is much better at fighting than I am. No, he's not. So he misses. He tries to get a bite on this snake creature, but it's too quick.
All right. And that's going to bring us to Dante.
I think, well, because I went the death domain, I'm going to do something a little different. I am going to cast, if possible. Let me see if I can, though. Hold on. Just need to see what kind of components we got. I apologize. Give me a sec. I'm sure I could have access to a drop of blood and a piece of flesh. Any chance I could find a pinch of bone dust somewhere?
Well, you tell me.
Is that a no?
You tell me.
I think I would.
If you would have your components pouch on you.
I think that would be something that most of it washed away, but I think that there would be something there. And as far as a drop of blood, we have corpses all around us. We have dead grungs surrounding us, correct?
No, that was just during the storm.
Oh,
okay. You've actually not seen any around you.
I apologize then that I can't do what I was going to do. So I am going to cast Chill Touch as a death domain cleric, necromancer cantrip. I'm going to cast Chill Touch, and you'll see this kind of skeletal hand go over to this creature and just grab it.
Okay.
Hold on, I got to roll. Give me a sec. I got to do an attack roll. That's a 16 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. And it's going to be...
God, I was getting worried for you guys.
It's going to do 4 points of damage, and it cannot regain hit points until the start of its next turn.
Oh, nice. All right. Yep, poop. You are back in action.
Did we skip Famo?
Oh, yeah, wait, Famo. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Famo rolled so low that he doesn't get a turn. So admittedly, I haven't played a rogue much without a weapon, armor, or stats to speak of. Is sneak attack possible without a weapon? I don't think so, right? Because I wouldn't have, like, you can't add it. Okay.
You need something
It seems unlikely that it is. Okay, yes, it has to be.
Unless you specifically wouldn't have had a weapon on you.
So I wouldn't have, but I know how to use one. So I don't have a weapon, so I am just gonna do what everyone else is doing and jump in here. Hopefully, more like a flanking it. I mean, I know snakes these tentacle snake things are kind of looking all over, but being of low intelligence, but having fought a lot, gotten as far as in life as he has so far, Famo isn't, the worst fighter. So he would absolutely go in and attack this thing. And he would do quite well. Famo gets a 16 to hit, which...
And that hits.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, so then now the question is, what is Grung unarmed? Are we rolling a d4 here?
Yeah, that'd be a standard unarmed attack.
I was really hoping I had, like, I don't know, claws at the end of my suckers or something. So that's a total of 2. 2 damage.
Okay.
And so I feel like Famo, like, smacked this thing sort of on its hindquarters. It would look as though this were some sort of a thing that would potentially, like, it looked as though it was like a slap boxing thing, but not necessarily. It didn't look very great or finesse or like it was hurting. It almost looked as though I were goading the thing, simply because of how little damage I did.
Yeah, you're right, Lloyd. I forgot about that.
Okay, so if that's the case, my strength is 0, which means I get a 1 damage, and everything else still applies. And don't be sorry, I'm loving how difficult this game is.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
Oh man, I'm just picturing these little frogs just running up to this giant cat and just going, "Stop!"
Yeah,
Slapping at it.
like so many rules keep coming up. Like, oh wait, you know what I mean? Usually you write down your armor class and you're like, all right, you're good. And you're like, all right, you don't have your armor, you don't have a weapon. Here's your unarmed. You know what I mean? Like I've played D&D plenty, but I've never played D&D like this.
And for the record, I didn't tell you guys you didn't have any weapons. You guys seem to have just decided you lost this stuff in the storm, which is awesome.
Mine.
Okay, now it's Nyet Poop's turn as Famo has just slapped this thing on the ass.
And Yep Poop would totally like see this just like this big whap going on by Famo, and he kind of get all inspirational on this. He kind of waves his whistle stick in the air and it goes as the holes in it carved in it by me, or maybe even Famo. I mean, hopefully not Famo. It whistles as the air goes through it. And as he does this, he goes just making this loud, obnoxious noise. And then he kind of just like waves his hands in a very, very, too much, kind of in excessive manner. I'm gonna try and cast Sleep on this creature.
Okay.
So I just have to make a 5d8 roll, and if that exceeds its hit points, then it falls asleep, I believe.
That is correct.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to do some numbers here. Uh, 25 is my total.
So what you see happen here is the snakes on the back of this creature, they all go and they fall limp. But the cat creature itself, it just kind of goes and is not, it wavers for a moment, but it does not drop. But for the time being, you appeared to have put its snakes to sleep.
And then, yeah, awesome. And so as I'm kind of waving my spell around in exorbitant manner, I've also continued to kind of yodel in my weird croaky voice. And translated from Grung, it's, "You can do it, Famo, good job." And I'm giving you my one and only bardic inspiration that I get. It's a d6. I'm using it as my bonus action. You can roll it to add it to any attack roll, saving throw, ability check, skill check, or damage or armor class from an attack. So use it wisely, Famo.
So after this happens, this cat creature, it leaps out of this little, you see it kind of gather itself, and then it just kind of leaps over you. That means, I believe everybody's engaged with this thing at close range. So each of you is going to get an opportunity attack on it. Good Lord. So everybody goes ahead and makes one attack. It's got to be on your end, Drake. It looks like Glurk and Nyet Poop are the only ones that hit. And so you got 1 point of damage. And what do you do for damage, Glurk?
9. I'm a god.
Oh, nice.
Yin Yang reborn.
And what happens when you strike it as it pounces, you see it land, and it just kind of lands on this stump sticking up out of the water. And it turns so that it's facing you, and it's only about 10 feet away from all of you. but as you struck it, as it leapt away, you see that its snakes kind of and rise back up. The creature makes like it's it opens it does that thing like when cats hiss and big cats hiss where it shows all of its teeth and it hisses, but you see in the light this this noxious cloud come out of its mouth. And I need everybody to make a Constitution saving throw. No, you can't go negative. So it looks like Dante and Poop, you smell this rancid, and Burp, you all smell this rancid breath wash over you. And then you hear a couple of splashing sounds as Famo and Glurk fall asleep. They just crumple in a heap. And so that's gone. So that would be, well, that would be your turn, Glurk. But you are unconscious. And there's
Burp doesn't do
no
anything unless I command him, so he's just standing there stupidly, like with his mouth open. He just goes.
All right. Then we go to Dante, who managed to stay on his feet. Dante? I know Drake's struggling with some connection issues.
Nong Nong does not smile upon him this day.
I think it's karma for all the times he bragged about having fast internet.
New computer, fast internet. This is what you get, man.
So you're only picking up bits and pieces, Drake? Man, that sucks. Oh, Drake's getting pissed. So it's going to be Dante's going to hold his turn until his internet improves. So it's Famo's turn. Famo's unconscious, which takes us back to Poop.
Yep, Poop again continues to wave his whistle stick in the air, making the droning, dirgy sound of this whistle stick, and continues to wave his hands in a very exorbitant manner. And from his fingers shoot these massive like motes of light as they go, four of them, and splatter harmlessly into the side of this cat creature as I cast dancing lights on it. As I'm saying, oh, I conjure the power of the wonders I've done, and the suns I've seen, and just do nothing. And then I kind of like look around at my fellow grungs and kind of like look and say, hey, hey, hey. Looking for praise.
You just cast dancing lights, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, you've lit the area.
Yeah. Poop is channeling the power of a wizard he saw one time in his travels, and that made great beams of light and smote a creature where it stood, and he tries to do it, and it's not very effective.
Well, let's see. For a moment, the creature again hisses as these lights appear suddenly, and then it moves toward the two of you, which are Dante and Poop. And it is going for Poop as it's kind of just pounces towards you, not on you. As it lands, it takes a swipe with its claw. And it hits you with a 13. And as this claw smacks into you, you take 6 points of slashing damage. And then as it bats you, it almost kind of pulls you towards its mouth. And somehow you manage to kind of spin out of its grip in the water. My Atcon die is betraying me. That's the second critical fail I've rolled on an attack. And the way I do crit fails when they make sense like this is the way it kind of spun you and lost its grip on you, it grants you an attack of opportunity.
Immediately, I think, oh yes, those blasts of energy I created did some good. And as I'm imagining, this great power and magic coming from my fingertips, I immediately go for a backhand swipe with my whistle stick, which has like a little random things ornamented on the end of it. Getting an 18 to hit and doing 2 points of damage for a solid blow. That's the most solid blow I almost can do.
All right. It is no longer its turn. Everybody else is unconscious. Except Dante. Can you hear?
Yep.
It's come back around. So you can take an attack at it, and we can say you held your attack. So you can get both of your turns in there.
Then I'm going to cast the easiest thing for me right now. It's just because it's going to be just twice.
I didn't catch what you were actually doing.
Jake. What? I'm sorry?
You cut out for a second. You're doing what? Oh boy.
Can you not hear me?
You must be cutting out because I heard
Can
you
you not hear me?
attacking it. I can hear you. Obviously, you can't hear me.
Listen, this connection stuff is just the flow of the game, man. It's just ridiculous. And I don't want to do that. So I'm out. Just you do what you got to do narratively, but I'm not going to fight this again on future games until I can get my money place.
All right. Mysteriously, your cleric of death has vanished.
Clearly, brothers, he was not chosen by Nong Nong this night. We shall go forth.
Poop.
That's
Actually, you know what? I'm
unconscious.
gonna do something because we got two of you there. Evens, it's James. Odds, it's Lloyd. Odd. So Glurk, you are awakened as a glowing red gem falls onto your forehead.
Me chosen. He would say as he wakes up and sees the gem.
And technically, in the initiative order, it would be you.
Okay, I'm gonna get up out of the water because I was on my back, and I'm gonna pull the two little shitty flint knives that I have, and I'm gonna run up to this thing and try and shank it. First one, god damn it, it's a 6. And second one's a 7, so that's not gonna happen. So I run up to it and I'm like, nah, yang yang, and then I just swat the air in front of it with my daggers.
You look impressive as in the light of the glowing thing. Your shadows cast around, but it's just dancing light and shadow at this point. Which is then going to take us to, let's see. Famo is still being left unconscious on the ground. Poop.
So Poop is essentially on his own, just in melee with this dangerous cat monster, and just he's not at all scared yet. He's channeling all the bravado he thinks he has, and he's just waving and dancing around, kind of hopping back from one foot to the other, waving his whistle stick in the air, little bit of tendrils of magic coming from his fingertips, and he's yodeling and he's croaking and making a very onerous noise from his voice box, as his tongue is just flapping in the air above his face. And he's just going to continue to kind of dance around and continue to channel this magic from his voice. And he's going to kind of like exaggerate the light that he's kind of plopped onto this cat creature. So bright, in fact, that it just creates the silhouette around the creature, outlining it and making it easier to hit. I'm casting Fairy Fire.
Excellent.
And so everyone has advantage attacking this dude now.
And this cat dude is still standing in front of you. And you are its target. Actually, you know what? There's two of you there. Because Glurk ran up on it and waved his daggers threateningly at it. And in retaliation, Glurk, the snakes... Are you freaking kidding me? That is the third crit fail I've rolled against you guys. The snake heads all seem to kind of converge as the same time this cat creature is lunging toward Poop. And they strike just short of you. And you see that you have an opportunity to strike these snakes in mass. So go ahead and take an opportunity attack.
Yes, sir. Oh, I have Fairy Fire now, right? So I have advantage. Oh,
yes.
Baby.
Yeah.
Okay, that might actually hit. That's a 15.
Yes, that will hit.
Yes. Oh, man, it's so satisfying. Normally, I'm just like, hit. I'm like, oh, my God, one hit. That's going to be 7 points of damage.
All right. And just for the record, I always run crit fails on my monsters this way, and I do it with PCs as well when it makes narrative sense.
Sure.
Unless you do something narratively, if there's something you want to do with that crit fail, like some people break bowstrings or drop their swords or whatever, I'm not going to take your agency away in that sense, but it's something we didn't cover ahead of time because I didn't expect to roll so many crit fails. So you... with an opportunity taken and well used, striking another vicious blow on this thing, but it still snaps its jaws at Poop. And this time, the absolute tabletop die is giving me the good old @20. That is a critical hit on Poop with a bite attack. So that means you are going to take 4. That did not roll. I dropped it. 3, 7, 10 points of piercing damage as the jaws snap down on you. How are you doing for... are you still standing? Okay. Glurk, you would actually see this thing right next to you get a good chomp on Poop. And it is your turn, Glurk.
Okay. Glurk loves Poop songs. He loves them. He thinks they're the most beautiful thing he's ever heard. It's like the one thing in his like little shitty Grung existence that makes him happy. And so he's going to like run around in front of Poop and try and protect him. And he's going to swing his daggers at the thing.
All right.
That's a crit.
Nice.
Oh my God. And the second one is a 12, so that's going to miss. I assume. The crit is going to be, oh boy, 11 points of damage.
You're spraying blood from this thing. It's looking worn. Probably 2 of the snakes are barely holding on, gashes across them, gashes in the side of this thing's fur. And still, Famo, this may be a blessing in disguise, Famo, for you. Because
I woke up 3 rounds ago. I just know when, I'm
just pretending to
I'm a
be
rogue. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to wake up right when the thing dies. I'm like, oh, we did such a good job, guys.
So with Famo still asleep, it's going to be back to yep poop. The thing in front of you looking pretty haggard.
And yet Poop is very thankful that his battle compatriot, Glurk, this war god, this avatar of Nyang Nyang, has come and kind of saved his hide as he took this massive bite somewhere vital. He's going to kind of limp around and essentially just start croaking wildly, casting Healing Word on himself. So it's 1d4 plus my charisma modifier, which is 0. So 2 points. And then he's going to kind of like hide behind Glurk now because he's like the true hero. Essentially taking the dog action. Teaching the dog
against a cat. Against a giant cat. Maybe the dog action is what you need.
Like a dog against the cat for the turn.
And in doing so, well, in order to, okay, so you're taking the dodge action is what you're doing, you said. Excellent. Because the two of you are there, it's going to weakly attack at you. I'm trying to remember what the dodge action does. Is that
disadvantage?
Okay, it is disadvantage. I couldn't remember if it gave it an AC bonus or was disadvantage. So the snakes are lashing out at you. Wow, that worked out for you, I think. No, it didn't. Because while I did roll a 7, that is a +5 to hit you. You are going to take 4 points of piercing damage. Oh, I totally forgot about this. You're going to take 4 points of piercing damage from these snakes. Actually, is this the first time somebody got hit by the snakes? Sure, it is.
Yeah, the snake hit itself earlier. If it
That's right,
inflict
it
extra
itself.
damage.
Are you still standing after this 4 points?
Yes, I am standing with a mighty 1 hit point right now.
Okay, let's see if you are still standing. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
19 on the die for a total of 19. If this matters, we're immune to poison as Grungs.
That's right.
And immune to poison damage and the poisoned condition and all that jazz. So.
That is correct. Of all the books I have out before me, I forgot to open up the I forgot to open up the one Grung thing with the stats. So yeah, it doesn't matter. The poison, it injects all kinds of poison into you. That does absolutely nothing to you.
Blessings of Nang Nang.
That actually, anybody else, that would be a very bad situation with this creature. All right, for some reason I don't have it accessed, so anyway, forget that. So that then it makes its bite attack against Glurk. And your AC, Glurk,
16.
is 16. It is going to miss. And it's going to be your turn.
Okay. Yep, so it like barely misses me by an inch or so. And then I'm going to take the 2 daggers. I'm going to try and smash it again. I still have Fairy Fire on, I think, right? Which means advantage.
Yep.
Okay. That's a 21 to hit and a 21 to hit, 2 16s.
Those are hits.
Oh my goodness. So 6 on the first and 2 on the second.
So as this thing bites at you and misses, go ahead and tell us what happens. How do you kill this thing?
So it's kind of lazy, I guess, after it's lost so much blood. and it makes this sort of like slow bite attack, and Glurk just barely managed to step out of the way. And as its head is like right next to him, like almost the size of his torso, he like takes the two flint knives and like puts them in the back behind his head, and then just like and he's just like desperately slashing in the hopes that it won't get back up. And even as it kind of like thunk to the ground, he like jumps on top and continues like hammering into it just to be sure.
And as you do this, Famo continues to sleep in the water next to you. Eventually, you're pummeling. You bones shatter, and a pulp quickly begins to be all that is left of this thing. As you have taken out this Commodon, which I guess I could have shown you guys this earlier, but for the record, this is what it looked like, what you were fighting.
That is rad.
That is really cool.
That is from the Tomb of Annihilation.
Oh man, that's awesome.
And as you do this, and you guys have taken some bites. Whoops. You guys have taken some bites, taken some damage. One of you sleeps alongside you. One of you has completely vanished. You hear off in the jungle, from the distance, the direction this thing came, you hear kind of a mewling howl and a hissing sound, as if there might be more of these things not too far away. What are you going to do?
Quick run, Glurk says, and he like and Burp would come over and he would like try and find Famo if he can see him in the water.
You have the gem, so you would be able to see him. He's just kind of he looks like a dead frog lying on his back, but you can just see him floating there.
I would say, Poop, help quick. And Glurk would like grab the arms, and he would expect you to grab the legs and like put him on the back of Burp, and then we can run.
And this jostling action, it's entirely up to you, Famo. If you continue to pretend to be asleep or you wake up, but the jostling and throwing you on the back as they begin to move actually does wake you up.
Oh yeah, Famo would wake up. He would wake up and while disoriented for a moment, would absolutely follow them and whatever they were doing, immediately kind of try to pretend he didn't miss anything.
Well, I don't think you have to follow him because I think he threw you on the back of Burp.
Oh yeah, okay. So in that case, I would just sort of pretend like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing.
And once he's on the back of Burp, Glurk would begin running as quickly as he can away from that sound.
You, Glurk, you're a ranger. You have I
have so many things.
You have features that allow you to know where you are and all that good stuff.
Yes, I can't become lost except by magical means, which I assume has happened. I remain alert to danger while traveling. That looks like all the stuff.
You said you can't become lost unless by magical means?
Yes. I assume the storm was magic.
Yeah, there was definitely, it was pretty much stated, and most of you sensed it, that there was magic that was involved in that. Where the hell did this go? Sorry, I lost one of my placeholder cards. So you take off running. And how long are you going to run for before you stop or do something else?
I guess I would try and get my bearings. I have expertise because jungle is my favorite terrain, obviously. To make a survival check to try and determine roughly where we are.
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that because you definitely don't know the right direction to go at the moment.
Okay, so even with expertise, I only have +2 because I have -2 wisdom. Actually, do I have -3 wisdom? Yep, it's -3. So I only have +1. So it's going to be, I rolled a 15, so 16.
That's actually enough. The magical nature of the storm, what it did is it made it so that you just, in that moment where you would normally have this innate sense of where you were, there was just no landmarks. You were unconscious for most of the journey, so you had no idea where the storm put you. Now that you're moving, you're starting to pick out these things. The moon barely, flicking in and out between the clouds up above, and just the nature of the terrain. It just starts to hit you, and you just kind of automatically know how to course correct so that you can move in the direction of your village. And incidentally, that's exactly what you needed to roll.
So he would be like running or swimming, depending on how like bad the water is. And occasionally he would like look at Poop and say, "More run, more run."
Yeah, Poop, very hurt. Yeah, Poop, lots hurt. Kind of just pointing at all these like vicious bite wounds he has, and like this little snake bites. And he's like flickering some healing magic on his hand, but it's kind of fading, and he's like kind of wheezing a bit. He's like when he's croaking, it's very like hoarse and pained.
Glurk would like skid to a stop. And he would like walk over and he would say, me heal. And he would like rub his hands together and like spit in his hands. And then he would like begin incanting. And you can tell that the words are so wrong. Like he's trying, he's heard Dante do this a few times. He's like trying so hard to get it right, but it's not very good. It's going to be cure wounds, but I have -3 to wisdom. So I'm going to roll a d8 and give you a d8 -3 hit points. So I could kill you. 6. Okay, so you'll get 3 hit points.
I think it's actually a minimum of 1 with those, isn't it?
Oh, is it? I'm not sure.
I think
I thought it was okay. Well, that would be super nice.
Yeah, I think when
Yeah.
when it comes to healing stuff, it's a minimum of 1.
Okay, so then it will be 7. So he's just like ruining this incantation, and eventually, though, like it's just like his determination and his like desperation that like wins out. And Yang Yang can feel that from him and like gifts him this healing spell.
I feel like Poop would have like corrected you on certain words. You're like Sherblurk, and you're like Sherblurk.
Yeah,
As you're
sure.
incanting.
All right,
Nods.
so you guys have kind of stopped. You did a little bit of healing. You don't hear the sounds of whatever that creature was. Everybody go ahead and give me an insight check. Glurk, you're kind of caught up in this healing ritual that you were doing on him. And while he's healing you, you're kind of looking around and seeing the moon moving past the clouds, and you get a glimpse of some of the stars beyond. And you're kind of piecing together in your mind what time of night it is. And out of nowhere, without any hesitation, Famo, you just know. You just look up and you're just like, oh, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah, especially if we were sort of talking about it, or if there was any conversation going on, suddenly Famo would sort of just have this rush of insight, just like, oh yeah, it's this time, and probably point out something that he noticed, some sort of constellation or something absolutely that he shouldn't know, but was likely similar to the healing sort of gifted to him by Nang Nang. Just suddenly knowledge enters his mind, and he's like, why, look, it's 3 a.m. for on the day of our Lord, this, whatever the date is. I don't know how Grung keep days. Whatever the day is, and oh, there goes the mighty frog breather, son of... probably something cool. I don't know. But and saying all of these things, you know, he'd point and be like, "Of course, it's 3 hours past the midnight hour, brothers." And I like to think that he would continue with that and kind of give a rough idea of where they are, even though he has no idea. He'd say, "Oh, probably somewhere in the Sundry province of the whatever," you know, just completely making it up. And basically, where his insight ended, he wasn't smart enough to stop talking.
So knowing that half of what Famo says is just utter bullshit, it's up to you whether or not you believe him when he says he knows what time it is. All right. So it is your choice of what you want to do. If you want to continue moving towards your village, if you want to attempt to rest and gain the benefit of more healing, or what else, any other thing you might want to do.
Glurk remembers the thing, the displacer beast sphinx god thing that he encountered, saying that it was like they had to defeat the creatures of the night to like make their way home. And he's a true believer, is Glurk, in like prophecy and in yang yang, and so he thinks that they have to go by night, and he would say as much to the other two, except in Grungese.
Yep, very tired, want sleep. At least rest for Grun want science. So garble gibberish.
I'm glad one of us speaks Grungese.
So you guys want to take a short rest?
And yep, Poop would be advocating for a short rest at the least, just to get his bearings and kind of strum a nice tune on his Grung tongue, just to kind of like chill, you know, in the night on the back of this frog behemoth, and just kind of rest up a bit.
Must climb tree to sleep. He would say it like it's a fact. You can't be sleeping on the ground.
Is their tree long enough or big enough for Burp?
Burp has this like sad expression on his face.
Worry not, brothers. I shall stay with Burp here on the ground and keep watch. And seeing how much resting I have already done, Famo would absolutely not need to sleep. He just took a 4-round long nap, I think so. He'll be good. He got a little shut-eye.
I feel like, just, I don't know why, but the way you described him, Lloyd, in my mind now, Bert looks like Totoro.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
He just like, if
Pulls out an
Totoro was
umbrella.
a frog, that's what he looks like.
Yep.
So that just means that the monster we met was the Nekabasu.
Yes.
Oh, all right. So, Burp and Famo are gonna kind of stand watch then, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And the other two of you are gonna go ahead and take a rest. So you may use whatever benefits you have that kick in for a short rest, if that's healing dice or Bard Song of Rest or whatever you have.
So I didn't use it, but do you get the Bardic Inspiration die back and like someone else, you can give it to someone else, or?
No. I just have one inspiration total to use per long rest because I'm a very bad bard.
Oh, okay, long rest, gotcha. Well, as long as I've still got it, I'm still hanging on to it.
It lasts only for 10 minutes, so it's gone.
Oh, it's just gone forever. Okay, that's too bad.
Into the void of you just sleeping for 25 seconds.
Exactly.
All right. I need perception checks from Burp and Famo.
Burp has dark vision. amazingly.
So then, yeah, Burp would get to do that at advantage.
Okay, yeah, still 14.
So both Burp and Famo, you see, as the others are sleeping, from the direction you came, in the glowing of this gemstone, and then Burp actually can see a little bit further and sees it first. What appears to be a large orb floating in the air with some stalks kind of coming off of it. And it's just floating toward, kind of slowly toward Burp and Famo. It's a pretty good sized orb too.
Immediately upon seeing anything out of place, Nong Nong would sort of raise. I'm the god. Sorry, I ruined the end of your venture, Jake. I'm the god of all Grung, and just masquerading as a stupid artisan. No, sorry. Famo would immediately call up to his short resting companions. I imagine he'd be, pretty close still, maybe like right at the base of the tree that they're at. Brothers, I believe Nong Nong calls on us again, or it's possible that we may be facing our demise once again. Please advise.
I definitely think instead of saying that, he just goes, "Ah!"
Basically, just screams, just yelling. He's like hitting Burp, like kind of like tapping him, like, all right, come on, do something.
Ribbit.
He would also likely scrabble for any implement with any sort of sharp edge.
I guess Glurk would shake his head and wake up. Glurk is well armed. I don't know. He had all this stuff on him. So I'll drop one of those flint knives down to you.
I want Famo to make another D100 roll.
All right.
And
it's a 45. Does that mean I get a 45? I'll take our 45.
You find a rusting Colt 45.
No bullets, though. Damn.
This is Grungs and Chult with a touch of Numenera. As you kind of fumble around, and the ground is where you guys have stopped is damp, but it's no longer like standing water. And as you're fumbling around, you actually kind of fumble across a rotting corpse of a long dead adventurer. And you find your hand kind of clasp around a rusted, archaic dagger.
I'm into it. So with that, he would feel around and sort of, again, I feel like his low intelligence is really just to some degree spiritualism. And again, praises Nong Nong for letting him find this quietly, while screaming up to his compatriots and sort of readying this dagger and probably hiding it, if that's at all possible, behind a tree, behind anything around.
There's lots of stuff that you can hide behind.
Yeah, so I imagine I would probably leap and scrabble to a nearby tree and maybe hang on the back of it. I don't know, like something that frogs would do. Kind of ready to leap out and attack, sneak attack. Obviously letting Britt be the bait.
All right, well, this giant orb thing is continuing to float toward you. You can see now, as it gets closer in the light, there appears to be a single eye in the center of it. And what looks to be about 10 sort of smaller tentacles with some kind of round thing on the end of them just kind of bouncing around like some grotesque parody of hair as this thing continues to wordlessly float toward you.
I'm going to shoot an arrow at it.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say no longer screaming. I'd basically be hiding to wait until hopefully it got a little closer to see what it was if it was a threat. He would assume it was based on past experience.
Yep. Anything bigger than me is probably going to eat me in the jungle.
That's a good point. As a Grung.
Is his rationale.
Yeah. You're like, wait, do I fit in its mouth? It's a threat.
Yep.
Everybody give me as you're knocking an arrow, go ahead and everybody give me a whatever intelligence check you want. I'm sure you're all experts at intelligence.
Yeah, that's a 2. That was a natural 5 I rolled. So
okay, none of you have any clue what this thing is. It just resembles a big orb, floating orb with an eye in the middle that I believe Glurk was going to take a shot at.
Yep. Glurk's not so smart. 14.
Your arrow flies through the air. The thing's only about, at this point, 20 feet, maybe 15 feet from you. And your arrow flies true and hits right in the center of this thing's eye. And there's this shrieking sound that fills the air, just this. And then the image just completely explodes. Tiny spores completely fill the area, and you can't help but breathe these spores in. And they cause you to cough and gag for a few moments. But none of you suffer any ill effects from this thing that just scared the crap out of you, but appears to be nothing more than, well, a gas spore.
Glurk would just be so pleased with himself. He just killed a huge monster with one arrow. As far as he's concerned, he would like lift the bow up and be like, "Nyang, nyang, nyang, nyang."
All right, your rest is over, whether you wanted it to be over or not. An hour has passed, so it's now pushing about 4 a.m., and you still need to get back to your village.
Poop finishes his long, like, hour-long song he's created. From the twanging of his tongue and the weird thumping of his leg against the branches of the tree, just making this like weird, oddly non-rhythmic song that has no melody or actual beat to it. And imagine, maybe Gurk or whatever his name is, Glurp, Glurk, combination of two. It's just, humming away at this awesome, sound, this concert I'm making. And this screaming of this creature kind of adds onto the chorus or the climax of the song. And then, it kind of ends in this big, kind of just like this bow and tips his head in his hat and just kind of, he kind of just says, as he bows and then kind of climbs down, knowing that, the time's up and we have to get going again.
So what's your marching order going to be?
Everyone on the frog?
I was going to say, Famo would absolutely be trying to re-up for that ride the frog around, but...
Yeah, I mean, Burp is a medium-sized creature. I guess he can carry one of us without being tired. And, I mean, Glurk has no problem trekking through the jungle. It's like his job. It's his wheelhouse. So whichever one of you wants to ride in the back of Burp, I can't even get the names right myself. I would say that I'd say Burp's in front because he can see in the dark, and then Glurk's in the back.
All right.
Yeah. Famo would jump right on. So Glurk is the frog. I had that wrong too. Okay, yeah.
No,
So
Burp is the frog. Glurk is,
okay.
is Grung.
That's what I thought. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so he would jump on Burp's back. Famo would, and kind of look around, kind of like, what? You know what I mean? Like, almost like he called shotgun. And he would just sit there like, I'm ready.
Then I imagine that, like, Poop is kind of doing the backstroke while also kind of, like, twanging his kind of just tune, just as he's just backstroking behind everyone else, trying to, inspiring you all with my onerous, terrible song, just to keep you guys, in a kind of a marching sound and order.
And like Glurk is like loving the song. He's like bopping his head, and then he's like, Poop, must be quiet.
So quiet enough.
With Burp in the front, how does he? I mean, do you have some way of communicating that he indicates if there's anything, or does he just blindly stumble forward?
He and I can communicate. He would like make a ribbit, like a low ribbit, if he saw anything that was dangerous.
Go ahead and roll perception for Burp. Go ahead and roll it at advantage for Burp, and then roll normal for you unless you have anything that's giving you advantage on that.
Okay, so Burp gets a 17, I get a 4.
So how would Burp communicate to you that he sees a change in the terrain? That specifically the foliage seems to be changing.
Unfortunately, Burp isn't very clever either, so there's only one thing that he can do, which is just a low ribbit, and that's just something is up. Like maybe it's a monster about to kill us, maybe it's raining. It could be I'm hungry. Like that's all of the communication that he has is a low ribbit. So he would just let it like a low like, and then Glurk would know like something's up, and he would look.
But would he keep moving? If it's not like a direct threat?
Yes, if it's not dangerous, like obviously he would keep moving.
Okay. So right after you hear this ribbit, you hear just begin piercing the night. And it starts off as that one horrible sound that I will not repeat for all of your benefit. But it takes on a chorus sound as 2 and then 3 and then 4 join this sound, as you can now see, because of the sound, as these kind of fetid looking mushrooms flank this barely a path you were following, seem to be emitting this shrieking noise. Well, I mean, what do you guys, what's your reaction to that? I mean, the night is just filled with that horrible sound now.
Yeah, Boop, certainly you must remember this one for our great festivals. You must play this for me again some other time.
Poop, not play some other time. Poop, play right now. And without any further consultation, Poop would make the same screeching sound that these mushrooms are making. Just to the best of his ability, just to try and mimic the sound that that they're making, to join in on their singing.
Glurk and Burp?
Burp hates it. You can see he just like shrinks low, and he's just like obviously uncomfortable with it. And I think he would like lash out with one of his big heavy feet and just like try and step on one of the mushrooms to make it stop. Glurk would like just look around and see if he remembers what the hell these things are, if he's seen them before.
Burp, who I now picture like Ludo in Labyrinth, covering his ears or his nose. Oh, smell bad. he does manage to step on one of these things, and it just kind of in a cloud of harmless spores. Go ahead and give me a. I'll let you make a history or survival check.
Okay, it'll be a 14 survival.
You've heard of these type of fungi, and they are called quite literally shriekers. That they specifically, when targeted or affected by light or presence getting too close to them, they will emit this loud noise, usually to alert somebody. They're usually deliberately placed as a sort of an alert, an alarm.
Oh, run quick, run, he would say. And he would think that the best idea would be to run back the way they came and then like around this area as opposed to going through it. And he would say that.
Okay. So you guys are going to take off running.
Yeah, so I would still be on the back of Burp and whatever Burp was doing, unless he did something crazy that knocked me off. And in a case like that, I would follow someone.
So let's see. That is a hit on Poop. That is a miss on.
It was honestly a matter of time before someone shortened that name to Poop.
That is a right. Glurk got missed, but Burp just got critted.
No, not Burp. He was the best of us.
And Famo, you're still riding. That's going to be a disadvantage attack. And that's going to be a 13, which I think still hits you. So it looks like everybody but Glurk got hit, and Famo got hit for a crit. So what happens as you take off running is you feel what feels almost like vines lashing out at you. And you each get hit with these things. Yep, Poop. Ooh, that's max damage. 8. You take 8 necrotic damage as you get hit by this thing. Famo, you take, oh boy. You take 5 damage. As one of these things comes lashing out, and it just, the necrotic damage, it like just happens to rip across your throat. And the necrotic damage does its effect on you. As I'm rolling the damage on Burp, what happens when you get hit with this 5 damage, which is the first hit you've taken all night?
The first and only hit. So again, like I said, unless Burp did something crazy or otherwise, he would just be riding and kind of along for the ride, and that's likely why he didn't see or even notice, this vine just lash out, and probably thorny with, I don't know, bits of who knows what on the ends, all kinds of different terrible things. Just right, maybe around his throat, and kind of clotheslines him, grabs him, and it just comes right off the back of this fleeing frog. And on the ground, as he's sort of scrabbling at his throat, he feels the skin and the bone sort of begin to deteriorate with this necrotic damage.
And Burp gets hit with the crit. He takes 9 necrotic damage.
He's still up. Burp is made of sterner stuff than any of us, I think. And he takes this smack and but he's still standing.
I want a perception roll from Glurk and Poop. You're just running. You hear Burp, Glurk. Half this narration sounds like I'm just making random noises. And you do catch sight. You guys do catch sight of, amongst these shriekers that are still shrieking, there's additional fungi that have almost like a teardrop kind of lattice work to them. And they have these vines that are reaching out and are whipping at you and that are striking. They've managed to miss you completely, Glurk, but you can hear Burp get hit. But you don't notice anything beyond that. It's Poop that notices in the flurry that Famo is no longer on Burp's back. And you actually see him fall into the brush, into the midst of where these lashing fungi are.
Poop would immediately spring to action because he's the hero of the day, now that, some time has passed and he's kind of forgotten about Glurk's bravery earlier. He'd immediately run, at the at Famo, who's being dragged into the Famo being dragged into the brush. And he kind of started yodeling, "Oh no, these are the schmingly dangler tanglers," as he kind of just waves his whistle stick about as he kind of hops around on these 2 feet of his and just wants to kind of grab and pull on Famo just to kind of release him from these grasping vines.
Give me a strength check. Yeah, it's actually not even grasping at him. They seem to more be just lashing out. And you're able to run up there and get a hold of Famo and pick him up. You hear that whoosh sound of one of these whip right next to your head as you grab hold, but it misses. And you're able to get Famo up and continue running after Burp and Glurk. It doesn't take you long. And once you guys get about 30 feet or more away, you actually hear the shrieking start to die down. And you can, that sound when you whip something through the air, that kind of, you hear that kind of, and all goes back to what it was before. Other than the panting of your breath, you only hear the normal night sounds and just that kind of faint residual echo of the shrieking as it seems to be bouncing off the trees into the distance. So you guys are safe now. Famo is unconscious.
I imagine I'm holding Famo, movie scene style, where they're dying in my arms and just a wheezing breaths, and I'm like, "Famo, no, stay with us. Don't go to Nang Nang yet. It's not your time. No, you're so awesome." And I would enhance my words with healing magic as I do this to give you 1 hit point back with my healing words.
And I imagine there's some sort of song involved. So as like you said, this death scene is happening. Famo would croak with what was about to be his last breath. "Brother, play me that haunting air you played on our name day." And with that, exactly, begins playing his banjo tongue, and suddenly Famo just feels about 1 hit point better. And he would cough and sputter as he kind of sits up and would potentially, just feel a little bit better, but still kind of maybe have a scar left on his throat. And
excellent. And as you kind of sputter too, we are going to take a very brief bio break for a couple bladder relieving, and we'll get right back into the final section here.
Awesome.
So we will be back in just a couple moments. I will use this time to say thank you for those that are watching with us live in the live chat, and if you're watching this after the fact later on, This is one of the Grung shots that you will see start to pop up on my channel. I have several more planned. The Mage with the Golden Grung, Sweet Chult of Mine, Grungzilla, couple more Grung puns that I'm trying to remember, Grungadin, all games that I'll be doing over the next several weeks, probably a couple months, with a variety of players. Also, I'm hoping in the next few weeks to be launching a new series called Tomb of Annihilation, Chult of Personality on Twitch. That's right. Mini Terrain Domain is now on Twitch. You can head over to twitch.tv/Mini Terrain Domain and check that out. That is going to be a weekly campaign. We're looking forward to that. We're going to have to figure something out with Drake, who still seems to be having internet problems, but we'll get that all sorted out. Speaking of Drake and I together formed the podcast Something RPG-ish, your one-stop shop for increasing your gaming wisdom, whether you are a new player or a seasoned player, whether you're a GM or a player. We've got all kinds of good stuff for you. So check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/somethingRPG-ish, or you can head over to iTunes and look up Something RPG-ish or somethingrpg-ish.podbean.com. And of course, this game was arranged and organized through the Absolute Tabletop official group on Facebook, where we have over 4,000 GMs and players that just like to talk about RPGs, and sometimes we get together and we play RPGs. I actually kind of like that. I kind of set up some of these monsters that you've gone against, which it just happened that two of them were dealt some sort of poison, which you guys are immune to. But I kind of like that I didn't go, oh, well, you guys are immune to poison, so I'm not going to give you poison monsters and, throw something else at you. That gas spore, if you were any other creature that wasn't immune to poison, would have effed up your day pretty badly.
I think that's like a testament to like how just able these creatures, these grungs, are to survive
in the jungle for sure.
Yeah,
There's so much poisonous.
Yeah,
like just how wimpy we are. Like we would have no chance in this jungle home of ours unless we had this inbuilt immunity to poison.
Well, a lot of that is directly related to the fact that we did 3d6 down the line. That prevented you guys from doing any kind of optimized build. Even if you're not min-maxing, you're still typically, you're putting your top stats in at least those couple that are your primary stats. And with 3d6 down the line, you can't do that. I played a cleric in a Nerdarchy game, or a paladin in a Nerdarchy game last Friday, and I did 3d6 down the line, and my charisma was a 10. I had a +0 in my spellcasting modifier. That's the same thing as your bard there. I had a DC 10 for my spell DC. I had only my proficiency bonus, my +2 as my modifier. And because you get at level 3, Paladin gets your charisma modifier, number of spells, half of your charisma modifier number of spells. I got 1 spell. Plus the 2 that I got for being Oath of the Ancients. So it was very interesting trying to cast spells, but I love the challenge of it. I like creating a character in that sense and then trying to play off of those. It's just a unique challenge. I highly recommend it. And it was actually Hankerin mentioned it on a video or maybe even a post that made me want to do that. So it looks like we got everybody back. I thought I heard James. Is James back? Maybe James isn't back.
I'm back. Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. I usually use the one on the Yeti, but that apparently wasn't the one I used.
All right. So Famo has just been brought back to life, or consciousness, I should say, by the amazing arcane abilities of Poop. After these vicious, by the way, they were, I lost what they were. Trying to think what they're called. Violet fungus, I think. In case anybody didn't know what was attacking you.
The Hingle Dingler Tanglers.
Yeah, the violet, yes, the Hingle Dingler Tinglers. Glurk. Interestingly, as you chose to run out and kind of run an arc in an attempt to circumnavigate this fungi, you stumble across the remnants. It's storm washed, but you know this path. You as a ranger would have ventured out periodically on foraging missions this far out into the jungle, and you know that you are only a few hours journey back to your village. Now that you have a clear path, or relatively clear path, it is strewn with debris from the storm, but you know exactly where you are and what you have to do to get back home.
He'll like sigh, satisfied, like looking, and he'll say, "This boundary tree, this home," and he's like trying to count, doesn't know how. Not far.
Yes, I smell the P2 on it. Yes, yep, smells it. Yep.
Wonderful. We're nearly there.
I imagine in your weakened state that comes out just as Burp.
Yeah, more like a croak, or like the Grung equivalent of a smoker's cough with the necrotic damage on his vocal cords.
Around my family, we call that an Aunt Carol laugh. That's a deep inside joke. Everybody's got an Aunt
Carol.
Everybody's got an Aunt Carol with emphysema.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how are you going to handle your marching order? Same marching order you had before?
I'm going to go in front this time instead of Burp.
And yeah, you can get the back of the frog there, Famo.
Yeah, and absolutely he would. Again, this time a little more melodramatic than before when he was unscathed.
Famo, do you have hit dice?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have how many? Like I said, I play D&D, but I never use any of these rules because I'm usually indestructible.
You would have 3.
I didn't use any. Yeah, I didn't use any. So I was pretty sure. Yeah, I still have 3, and I think it's a D8. It's not a D8.
Or
D8 for
D8.
Rogue.
Okay, I was like, I wrote down D8, but
yeah, sorry.
But yes, I should have all my hit dice left.
Riding on Burp, and it's a couple hours. You are going to gain the benefit of a short rest.
Oh, that's a good point.
So you can spend hit dice to heal up those remaining 4 hit points that you have.
Yeah, no, I will definitely do that. No question. And yeah, I get all of my hit points back. Because it didn't take very much at all.
And it actually, as you guys are moving through the jungle and gaining closer and closer to your village, a couple of things that you begin to notice right away, in particular, Glurk, as you're in the lead of this group, is at first it almost seems like this gem that you have from this creature is casting a brighter light. It seems as if you are illuminating more of the jungle. And you then realize that it's not the gem, but it's the sun. The morning sun is beginning to crest over the edge of the canopy and starting to play that golden orange light down to where it's not yet enough that the specific rays of the sun, but it's that morning glow that starts to permeate everything. And as this glow begins to illuminate things more, that's when you start to see all of the dead, broken Grung bodies everywhere that the storm tossed to and fro. Grung of all colors are smashed against trees, bent into precarious positions, tangled amongst brambles and trees, some that seem to have been crushed under rocks. But everywhere there are just dozens and dozens of dead Grung of all ages.
Yeah, he would be overwhelmed, I think, like looking around at all the dead Grung. And like he would feel that it's unfair. Like he's only a green Grung and somehow he made it, and he can see like the body of like an orange one float by, or like a golden one even, and he would just be distraught at the ruination of his home.
What about Nyet Poop and Famo?
Nyet Poop sees the destruction, and he just drops to his knees and holds his hands in the air and goes, "No!" for a longer time than should be had, as he just croaks loudly, screaming no into the abyss of the, he's like, "Why?" Kind of slamming his fists down into the soft earth. Just really, really tormented by the huge loss of his potential audience for all of his songs.
Famo, as he sort of tapered off this croak, he would, to him and to Glurk and Burp, would say, "Were we not brothers for? As we learned at the beginning of our journey, Nyang has chosen us. And it is not worth crying over the destruction when we know, based on the prophecies of old, that, well, it's always darkest before the dawn, and so forth and so forth. And I think it's time for us to strike out and fulfill our given prophecies for Nang Nang."
Lee, 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 lee. He kind of just like banjo pluck to kind of like add dramatic effect to your speech. That is probably just like a series of croaks and burps, and maybe like you're picking your nose or something at that point too.
And for a moment, the light does seem to flare brighter as you hear, and then you hear a deep purr. The little Grung Polliwogs have survived the night in the jungle and find themselves outside of what remains of their home. But wait, there were 4, but now there is 3. And I see the wounds upon you. I see the scratches. I see the marks of the jungle. And you can see kind of weaving in and out of the trees, treading lightly alongside the, treading carefully so as not to step on or over any dead Grung body, the lithe form of this sentient displacer beast. The jungle has left its mark on you this evening. There's no question about that. But what happens next will determine your fates, not only in the history of the Grung, but in the history of this island. For the very heart of the storm that cast you asunder last night now lays claim to your village. Will you go and strike it down? And then it sits on its haunches and cocks its head at you, waiting.
A glorious quest for a glorious nyapoop!
Glurk like turns his head to the side a little bit. We kill Storm.
Trying is the best I can offer you, but try I shall.
Again, he kind of cocks his head a little bit as you speak, Famo. Your heart speaks bravery, but your mouth speaks gibberish. But nonetheless, it is possible this morning that you may set forth yourselves on a path to wondrous adventure. Go into your village. Fight the heart of the storm. But it is dangerous to go in there in the condition you are in. Take these. And with a paw, it just digs deep furrows in the earth before it. And you see glinting steel appear. What is your each of your favored weapon? Not favorite, your favored, like your primary weapon you would use.
Poop would probably really imagine his stick with a bug kind of lashed to the end of it as like this mighty greatsword. That could be, held in two hands or something, held by a great hero, but it'd probably, be a longsword or something. Not just a quarterstaff.
So each of you, whatever this favored weapon of yours is, if it's a dagger, Famo, a rapier, whatever it may be, that is what is dug up in the earth before you.
Okay,
so,
yeah, for Famo, that would be a scimitar.
Excellent.
It would be a longbow for, what's my name? Glurk.
This isn't even a long game, Lloyd. We've only been playing for a couple
I can't
hours.
process the names. I just can't do it.
So mechanically, this magical creature has bestowed +1 magical weapons on each of you. And there's suddenly as he dissipates into this smoke form again, and you just hear his voice from everywhere and nowhere say, "Do not let me down. Do not let the island down." And then he's gone. And you hear the distant screams. Not too distant, because you're not that far, actually, from outside your village. You hear some screaming, and you hear cries of battle, and you hear arcane blasts as there is a battle.
Okay, so I'm not the only one he froze for, right? I
Okay.
thought for sure it was me. Oh,
Thank
boy.
God.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that was it.
There goes Jake. Epic cliffhanger.
Right?
So what we do is we walk in there, we just kick all kinds of ass, we
He
save the
said
day.
+1 sword. I think that was what him kind of glitching out. He actually said +11 sword, right?
Yes, right. That's
11.
obviously what he meant. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like the 1/1, he said +1/1.
He said mine gave me advantage and like +10 to all my stats.
Now they're normal.
Sweet.
Yeah, now they're normal. Exactly. I'm a commoner instead of basically an ape.
Oh, it's really fun being bad at stuff, though, isn't it?
It's
it's
really great. It's
Okay.
so great. Oh, we're done. I got 2 Jakes. This
Two
is the
Jakes.
best.
He's gonna co-DM himself.
Oh man, I hate when this happens. It only happens for like a minute for me, and it auto boots, reboots. So, what was the last thing you heard me say?
Arcane battles and blasts going on in the distance.
Blasts, arcane blasts.
Okay. So, yeah, you hear the arcane blast, the sound of battle, and then what I said, I was like, why aren't they reacting to this? I said, what are you going to do? And then when I didn't hear anything, I said, I assume you're going to run towards the battle, or are you going to slink off into the jungle with your magic weapons?
Oh no, Poop would just like charge onwards with this glorious shining sword in both of his hands, kind of just like tossing aside this like walking stick that has like a bee lashed to the end of it. And just like, Poop charges into battle. For glory and valor. He kind of just start ladling as he kind of just word charges, just yodeling as he does so.
Yeah, and Famo would do the very same. Would absolutely follow or charge, or whether he's in front or behind, would do the same. Run directly toward and do his best to fulfill this quest.
Yep, same for Burp and Glurk.
So, as you run into the village, and before I tell you what you see, I'm going to go ahead and have everybody roll your initiative now.
And there go the rolls.
As we did
That's
it.
gonna...
We did it, exactly.
We did it.
Good Lord. All right. You got 2 20s there. So, what do you got for Dex, Glurk?
I have +2 to Dex.
And how are you, Poop?
He's Poop at Dex with a -1.
So that's going to be Glurk and Burp are going to be up first, or rather second. Sorry, I'm actually up first. They're up second, followed by Poop, and lastly Famo. All right, so you go running to the village, and you don't even have to clamber through the gate or anything. As you come around and burst out of the jungle foliage, most of the walls that were around the edge have been destroyed in the storm, many of which you saw as you were hurled by the water out of there. You see several of these Grung, primarily the reds that are taking up a lot of the fighting. There's not a lot left in the village, and you see more dead bodies strewn about. Sorry, small interruption. By small, I mean about 4'11".
Oh, so you found your beholder miniature. Great.
There it is.
4'11".
Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Nothing like a teenage daughter to disrupt your narrative flow. Because she needs a phone charger. Sorry about that. So yeah, you see several more dead Grung. There's not a lot left in here. But what you see that they are fighting is, it appears to be water itself. The stream that ran through that just not so many hours ago, Glurk and Burp were fishing in, seems to have grown, and there's branches off all throughout the village, but they're not moving like they've cut channels. They're moving as if they are entities unto themselves. And in the midst of all of them and commanding them, the water itself has taken on a humanoid form that is armored, wielding a massive trident. And what you see, I'm going to try to show you this without showing you any pertinent stat information, but what you're seeing is this. Just the water one, not the fire one. Don't want to scare you.
It's only like 5 inches tall. I think we're fine.
You're right. It's exactly as big as my hand. And anybody who wants to can make an intelligence roll, history or survival, to see if maybe even religion, if it helps you, if maybe you know what this thing is.
So I rolled a natural 1, which with my intelligence modifier would technically be negative. I think that I have lost knowledge. I have forgotten something trying to figure out if I knew what this was.
Yeah, the knowledge you had the night before that you knew instantly the constellations, this just scares that knowledge out of you.
Exactly.
Like even the memory of that is just gone.
Yeah.
None of you have any clue. I mean, really all you see is humanoid water wearing armor that is issuing water to make attacks on Grung, is acting defensively against attacks, and is also hurling attacks with its trident. And it is this thing's turn first. And you see there's probably a couple dozen Grung that are left in the village that are actually fighting this thing. And you see as this creature, this water warrior, we'll call him, makes a motion like this, and water raises up and just moves like it undulates through one of these tributaries of the stream and just crashes over a bunch of these Grung. And you see 4 of them get swept up and slammed up against ruined structures within the village, and they don't move. And it is then Glurk, your turn.
Okay, so I'm on the back of Blurp. I'm gonna use him like a mount, I guess, and I'm gonna fire a shot with my longbow, and I'm gonna cast Hunter's Mark. Would you believe it or not? Actually cast a spell at this thing. So I'll point at it and I'll say, "Nyang nyang, demands I kill." And with my +1 weapon, that's going to be an 18 to hit.
And that is going to hit.
Excellent. So it's a longbow. Oh my goodness. Holy moly. 15 damage.
15?
Yes, sir.
What does it look like when you do this damage with this arrow when it hits this armored water? How does that affect it?
So I take the arrow and I quickly rub it on my arm. So it's coated in the weird goo that I secrete. And then I pull it back, and as I cast the spell, I can kind of see. Usually if I was hunting an animal, I would see its heartbeat, but all I can see here is a swirl of water, so I don't really know where to target. But nonetheless, it kind of glows for me, and I'm able to fire it at something vital.
Yeah, and you can actually see that it wasn't even paying attention. It seems like this is the first time anybody has done any kind of damage to it since it's taken over this village. and it just kind of. Anything else?
For me.
That is in your poop.
And yet Poop immediately recognizes what this is, and he would say, out to his companions, "It's the great Slurp Slurp, anti-avatar of Nyang Nyang. Kill it with fire!" He'd say, and just like as he's charging in, completely making something up, as he wields this long sword given to him by the strange cat from earlier. He's gonna just run up as far as he can, and maybe like skipping and jumping and bounding and off his little froggy legs. And if he's able to make it to one of these moats of water, maybe like slash it as he kind of hops by, or even if he's able to make it to the main creature itself, he'll probably just run up and charge and hack it.
The creature, or you can attack the water tributaries.
Whichever one would be closer.
You would pass by the water first.
Yeah, so I'll just slash at one of them as I just run by it.
All right, go ahead and make an attack.
So that's an 8 to hit. So this sword is way too heavy for my form. And so I'm just like clumsily dragging it along the dirt as I'm running and skipping along. And I barely even lift it off the ground to just slash this thing.
Famo, what are you going to do?
So Famo is going to be a rogue. He's going to finally potentially shine, avoiding any things that look like they may put him to sleep for any reason. No, Famo's going to do the I'm going to do the cunning action, which I believe allows me to hide if that's possible. I don't know if it was extremely clear. I mean, we did come running in here, but I feel like in the forest, I might be able to get away with hiding, depending on how well the stealth check goes.
There's a lot of debris in and around the ruins of the village, too.
Okay, yeah, well, he probably runs. Famo runs and crouches behind some debris, not realizing that he's well within sight of one of these monsters. Because you said there's the main guy and there's a few other ones, right?
So what it looks like is, imagine this armored water creature you saw. It almost looks like he's rising from a river, a stream with smaller stream tributaries branching off like water tentacles.
Oh, I got you. So it's more like just him. Okay, yeah. Well, either way, based on similar description, I do not hide. I got a critical failure, and I'm not sure how you'd like to handle that. But obviously, I do not hide from this thing.
It's not going to do like an opportunity attack or anything like that, but I kind of picture it that you are hiding behind, there's the ruins of one of the huts, and there's a single piece of bamboo that's about maybe 2 inches in diameter sticking up, and you kind of stand there right next to it.
That is exactly what is happening. I'm standing there, not making a sound, looking around, sure that this is absolutely working. I guess basically the idea would be to hide and then try to sneak attack it because I'm a rogue and I want to kill this thing. But realizing that, and then at the moment he thinks that he's sneaky because I was able to use cunning action to use a bonus action to do so, I would sort of quietly, quote unquote, charge and try to attack this thing with my scimitar.
Are you trying to attack the water tentacle things or the thing itself?
The thing itself, if it's possible, like you said.
Yeah.
Now, granted, as a GM or as a player meta, I should consider that you keep asking us that, and so maybe I should swing at one of these tentacle things.
No, honestly, the only reason I asked you that is because it's not just hiding that grants you
sneak attack.
Sneak attack. It's having an ally within 5 feet of you.
Oh, okay. I didn't consider that because at this stage, Nyapoop is relatively close, if not engaged, with the monster.
He actually attacked one of the
tentacles. Okay, no. So I would absolutely run in and go for the monster, probably not considering or thinking about the tentacles, just kind of having the one focus of, oh, I got to finish this quest.
Yeah, and just mechanically, because it does more or less function as one entity, moving past the tentacles is not causing you to draw an attack of opportunity.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want you guys to think that. I realize I kind of set this up in a confusing way, but yeah, so you can kind of move in there and attack at him.
Yeah, Famo would go right in, and so with a 16, I'm not sure if that hits.
A 16 is going to miss.
Oh, so yeah, Famo, same kind of thing, still getting used to this weapon. You know, he's used to a scimitar, but maybe this one's just weighted a little differently. He died and came back to life. It's been a long night. And so he's just getting his bearing. I imagine that he swings and the armor of this creature sort of shifts and it slides right through the water and nothing happens.
And that's exactly what happens. And it also has the added benefit of drawing the attention of this creature 100% on you.
Fair enough.
As it begins to attack. A 16.
A 16 hits him twice. I mean, I don't know if we're doing rules as written, but no, that absolutely, without question.
It's down at you with its trident. 9 points of piercing damage. Just barely missing, outright killing you.
So to be clear, I have far fewer hit points than 9.
Well, you have 5.
Yes. Oh, I see. Because killing me, I see. It knocks me unconscious.
If it hit 10 points, it's like going around to the negative. You know,
I got you. Yeah. I thought you were saying it almost dropped me, and I was like, wait a minute.
No, it definitely dropped you, but it almost outright killed you.
Exactly. Oh man, that was close. All right, but all right. I caught up. I remember how to play this game, guys.
So I mean, it's just you run up, you swing, you slice through its water, and then it just strikes you with this. He doesn't even hit you with the points of it. He bludgeons you with the end of it, and you drop like a sack of bricks.
Yeah, because especially in my mind, like it was not. I was hiding. I was perfectly out of this thing's sight. Right. It had no idea I was there. And so I ran up and, upon swinging, wasn't even ready for, like, usually in the movies, there's that moment where the character realized they messed up. They punch the guy that's twice as big as them and it occurs to them. There was not that moment for Famo. He was just like, all right, here we go. I'm good. And then suddenly lights out.
So as you get knocked down, a charge of one of these tentacles that Nyet Poop took an attack at surges and suddenly just lunges at him like a whip. And I need a strength saving throw from you, Nyet Poop.
It'll be a 14.
As this water crashes into you, you take 11 points of bludgeoning damage. And the water is now grappling you. Fortunately, as a Grung, you are amphibious and you don't have to worry about suffocating or drowning in this embrace, but you are contained within it. And actually, give me an insight check.
Straight up 10.
As you are just engulfed by this water tentacle, you felt the pressure of it grabbing you and kind of engulfing you, but suddenly you are surrounded by water, which is one of your natural elements. and you don't feel restrained. So you're actually, technically, you're grappled in it, but you have complete freedom of movement within this water. Do with that what you will as we move to... That was me that went. So that's Glurk.
Okay. So Burp is going to move like some sort of fine steed that Glurk is on the back of, move a little bit further away, just to maintain safety, and I'm going to fire another shot with my bow. That's really good. That's because I have actually like a 22 to hit.
That is going to hit. And in case you all forgot, I just want to remind you that you all do have 1 point of inspiration.
That's very true. That's going to be 12 points of damage from the longbow shot.
It seems as your arrows are finding their marks through gaps in the armor, that striking that water that forms this humanoid form affects it. You see a physical reaction, and he's let's see what he's doing. That's you see him casting about, looking like he hasn't yet figured out where these shots are coming from.
Good.
That was a really low perception roll. Because there's still a lot of chaos. There's other Grungs in here still. So that is now Poop, who is engulfed in this water tentacle.
This water tentacle came over me like a tidal wave, just bringing back flashes of memory of the flash flood that happened, earlier this night. And in doing so, he kind of flinches and recoils and embraces for this impact. And as he kind of just gets, wrapped in this tentacle of water, he's, at first he kind of struggles, and then he realizes he can swim just fine with his webbed fingers and his webbed toes. And he kind of like opens his, weird froggy eyes and kind of just sees the world from inside this water. And he's going to try and like swim up the tentacle, like inside the armor of this creature. And then he's going to start screaming at the top of his lungs, enhanced with magic. And just it gets louder and louder. It's first drowned out by kind of like the water sound, so the covering of water, and then it just pierces and goes. Rah! He's casting shatter from the inside of this dude.
Okay, so you can do this. What's your swim speed?
I think it's like 25 feet or something.
So you can move and swim up to him, and you can get right up on him, but you find that the consistency of the water actually changes and becomes unswimmable as you reach the humanoid form, but you're right there at him, and you can still do this.
Yeah, awesome. So as I'm approaching him and I'm swimming, I'm like starting to yodel in the water, and it's super muted, and then it just reaches a crescendo, and like I just kind of burst out, and it goes like, Rah! And just with this super loud sound that like breaks everyone's eardrums.
Is shatter a Constitution saving throw?
At the con save of DC 10.
And I'm going to do that at disadvantage.
Yeah, so if it's made of non-flesh, like stone, crystal, whatever, it's disadvantage.
That's a con save. What's his con? Okay. Well, at disadvantage, that is with his modifier, that is a 6 Constitution. So I'm going to assume that's a fail.
Yeah. All right. So I rolled close to max damage. This is 20 points of thunder damage.
What does it look like when you do this and you do it almost from inside this thing?
I imagine that the metal or armor bits that are kind of on the outside and surface of this creature start vibrating like a glass, like a glass would when some opera singer sings. They start just vibrating and just like start cracking in pieces, and splitting up and kind of just disintegrating a little bit and shattering. with this crescendo of my super loud, obnoxious, dirgy, croaking voice.
And this water that makes up the form of this humanoid form in the armor, as you cast this shatter and it does all of this damage, you maybe don't understand the science of what's happening, but at a molecular level, the water molecules loosen and you feel that resistance that was preventing you from moving inside give. So you don't have any movement left this turn, but just keep that in mind depending on how the rest of this round plays out. That was awesome. Famo, you need a death saving throw.
All right. We know how this goes. Ooh, a 5. That's a no. That's a no.
That is a fail. On your first death saving throw.
A croak comes from Famo, from the ground, probably slightly underwater, as he's lying unconscious.
Yes, and it is now this creature's turn. And let's see, in order to do that again, nope, that doesn't recharge. So it's still casting about. That is another low perception. It has no idea where Glurk and Burp are, where those shots were coming from, but it felt this disturbance from down by itself. And it sees you inside of its water tentacles, disturbance from down below. And you see it take this wicked looking trident, and it just kind of goes, and it plunges it down into its own watery self. And you are going to gain the benefits of partial cover. So I'm going to give you a +2 to your AC as it is attempting to attack you through itself. Let's see, that is a 17. A 14. Does that hit? And a 21, because it's attacking 3 times.
Alrighty.
So the first attack does 9 points of piercing damage. The second attack does, whoops, I already did that. That does 9 points of piercing damage. 5. And the third attack does 7 points of piercing damage.
All right, so I'm down with 2 death failures from those 3 hits.
Oh, yikes.
As I'm just like, this red blood. I mean, I think frogs bleed red. This red blood just trickles out and kind of like turning this weird water creature from this point onward, kind of turns it blood red as my blood suffuses this creature. And now it's like, instead of crystal clear, it's getting like a red spot in areas.
And you can clearly see this happen, Glurk. You saw what, from your vantage point, I mean, you just saw everything that happened. You saw it attack, but you also noticed that in addition to apparently killing Nyet Poop, you noticed that you saw pieces of water as it was striking actually break away and seem to shatter and hiss away, that it was hurting itself while it was hurting, trying to get rid of this foreign invader. And it's your turn.
Your noble sacrifice will not be forgotten, he tries to say, but he actually says, kill! And I'm going to use my inspiration to try and hit. That will probably hit. That's a 21.
definitely a hit.
Okay, 12.
It's another solid hit, and you can see. Let's see. Let me do this. Wow. Okay. As you hit it, you see the stream underneath it, which was forming 4 tentacles of these tributary tentacles. As you strike it with this shot, on top of the damage it did to itself, you see the tributaries just lose all form, just look like a water balloon burst. And you see at its feet and kind of wash away about 10 feet, poop. And then you see Famo kind of get washed away as well. They're both pushed about 10 or 15 feet away from this thing, as it's now just this humanoid form standing there. And it still has not figured out where these shots are coming from. I've yet to roll higher than a 7 on a perception check.
They're going to sing songs about the invisible archer.
It depends on whether or not you revive the bard to sing those songs.
Yeah.
So that takes us to poop. The most important death saving roll that you're going to roll.
All right. I don't know if this is rules is written or not. Can I use inspiration on a death saving throw?
I'm going to say yes.
All right,
I think you can. I mean, it's used for any D20 roll.
Yeah.
So roll it.
All right, I'm dead. My 2 rolls were a 1 and an 8. So I'm going to choose the better of the 2, which is an 8. So, Poop breathes his last breath as his lungs give out from this pierced trident strike that ended him moments ago. And just his blood curdles in the back of his throat as he gives his last yodel that anyone will ever hear, as he just kind of lies slumped on the wet, dank, muddy, gross ground. Yodel.
And not far away, Famo lies in the muddy earth, also dying. I need another death saving throw.
So I went from 5 to 4. So again, another fail.
And don't forget, you also have that inspiration.
We'll save it for the next one if that happens for maximum effect.
So the Myrmidon is up. That does not recharge. And he casts about. He actually holds his trident out and he begins making an arc, looking around, trying to find his assailant. And this time with an 18, just a straight, he has no modifier. He suddenly spots the green Grung riding atop this giant loping frog. And I imagine he sees you with an air, ready to knock another arrow, almost as if in slow motion. How far away? You said you did say that. You said you moved further away last time.
Yeah. So I don't know how. I think we were 30 feet when we started, so I would be 60 feet away, I think, from it.
Yeah. He spies you, moves to within about 20 feet of you. And that seems to be in that everything's moving kind of in slow motion as he's moving towards you, and he just seems to glide. It's almost like at his base, the water looks like water rushing over top of itself. And it's just propelling him forward as he begins to draw back his trident. But he's moved as far and as fast as he can as you prepare to make your attack.
Yep. Yep, I'm going to stay where I am. I'm going to attack. A 20, not natural.
That hits.
Nine damage this time.
Sorry, I'm terrible at this math. All right. Your arrow finds its mark. And you see his form begin to dissipate. The trident hurls through the air, arcing towards you. As he releases it, the water hand that was holding it loses form. The armor begins to collapse around the form to the ground, but the trident is still sailing through the air towards you. That is a critical hit.
Oh my god.
I did not expect that.
So good.
Oh my gosh. So we're going to see what happens with this last because you notice as this trident is hurling towards you that the water that was caked on it is turning to frost and the whole thing is freezing over as it hurls towards you. That's a 1 and a 3 on those. So that's 5, 7. So that's 12 points of piercing damage that you're going to take. Plus 11 freezing damage.
I'm down.
However, so you go ahead and tell me what happens as this thing hits you. It doesn't hit Burp, but go ahead and narrate it to your collapse.
So I've just fired that last arrow, and he is beginning to lift the bow and yes, I'm the best. I'm gonna turn golden. Is what he's thinking for saving the day, and he's probably even not even looking anymore because he sees it begin to collapse. And he turns around. And he's yeah, and then the trident just catches him right in the torso and knocks him off Burp. He carries maybe 10 feet back and splashes into the water with the trident sticking out of him.
And everything goes black. And you see a vision of a red Grung. It's kind of like everything goes black, and then you open your eyes and you see some kind of a blurry image, and it goes black, and you see a blurry image, and you see a familiar red Grung standing over you, who was with you a few hours before in the night. His form is hazy around the edges, almost like black smoke is billowing off of him. And you see his form in between blinks as he reaches down, grasps the trident, and he doesn't pull it from you, but as he grips it, it just dissipates into smoke. And then everything goes black. And then you see him leaning over you. And everything goes black. And you feel a warmth spreading from the trident wound through your body as healing energy courses through you. You open your eyes, and there's nobody there. And you hear this And you hear soft padding next to your head and a gentle purr. And it looks like Chult has new heroes today. And as you open your eyes, you can see Famo just beginning to rise up from the ground as other Grungs are healing him. And the camera pans away, slowly spinning as it pans across, and we see the still unmoving form of Inyet Poop. And it pans up until we see the whole destruction of the village, and we see Famo rising and moving toward Glurk, who is just starting to come to. And we move up through the clouds until we fade to white. And that's the end.
That was rad, man.
Yeah, man, that was awesome.
Man, I had to pull so much stuff out of my ass.
So
Didn't
fun.
feel like it on this end. It was great.
You know what was funny? Because none of you actually ever tried to even use your poison abilities. Which is interesting. I gave you, in the first encounters, things that dealt poison damage that you were immune to. And that Myrmidon, which I just used straight out of Princes of the Apocalypse, I looked at it after the fight started, and I was like, oh, he's immune to poison. But what I actually did with that Myrmidon is I actually used a Water Elemental's Whelm ability as the water tentacles. That's the part I totally made up on the spot. I had no intention to do that. But it seemed to make sense because it kind of tied in the whole river aspect.
Yeah.
I don't know. What'd you guys think?
It was lots of fun. It was insanely funny. I had to catch my breath a few times from laughing so much. I just had to just collapse onto my desk, just in fits of laughter because of just the shenanigans that went on in this game.
It's always fun to play a game where you can kind of do anything and it be ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like where you kind of have that agency to still have fun and play D&D and it's a cool adventure, but you get to do the voice that I did or say some of the things that I did or, ride a frog around or just crazy stuff. And like when you miss or roll poorly, it's almost more fun because it's not like a serious, like, oh, he dodges out of the way. It's like, nah, I'm a dumb little frog and I missed.
I think I figured out that why Lloyd likes playing in my games is because he runs such serious, hardcore games. He knows he can straight up just bullshit around in my games because I allow it. That's the kind of game I run.
That's a palate cleanser, yeah.
I run the antithesis of a Lloyd Iskloff game.
Lloyd, you should put Grung in Iskloft.
Oh.
Humans and Grung only.
Well, I plan on doing several more of these Grung games. I actually have almost 30 players lined up for several different games. Grungzilla, Sweet Chult of Mine, The Mage with the Golden Grung, Appetite for Destruction, Grungadin.
Oh my god!
I don't know what any of those are except for Grungzilla. I just came up with cool art and cool titles, and I haven't planned the adventures out.
That's where it all starts, man.
But no, this one I really think the way you guys did your stats really added to this. Like I said earlier, I didn't change up my monsters really. So that's why I put things that were dealt poison damage against you that were pretty much ineffective. But it still created some tension, I think, with the death spore, which actually is supposed to look like a beholder.
Yeah.
And if you're not Grung that are immune to poison, it can really mess you up. It does poison damage. It gives you a hallucinatory disease that affects your constitution and your healing. And then my intention all along was that there was a water elemental that was at the heart of all of this. The Displacer Beast was basically just a Displacer Beast. The gem in the head I stole from Scott Kurtz's PvP Online, the Table Titans, actually. from an earlier storyline that had it was evil, but a sentient displacer beast. And I gave it the blink ability because why not cross a blink dog with a displacer beast? I think, I mean, I wanted a way to give you guys, once you were lost in the woods, you had to have a way to figure out what you were supposed to do. So I wanted this mysterious smoke figure, and I think I might use that as a running thread through these Grung games.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool character.
This is kind of the thing that's going to tie them together. It's an entity that, depending on the players and the actions and stuff, could have different benefits. I had intended all along that it was going to grant boons. You guys, I was really shocked when Drake said right at the outset that he was taking his armor off. But you guys kind of went with, he even went with it, the fact that, okay, well, my component pouch got washed away. That wasn't anything I imposed on you guys.
Yeah.
So I think that added to it as well. But that's just, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I wanted specifically to have you guys in this first game. Because I knew having solid role players in here that I'm familiar with would help me to kind of kick off this Grung thing, which is a whole bunch of silliness. So
yeah,
hopefully everybody had fun. People that watched it, I hope you had fun watching it. We had a couple viewers in here during the time. I'm sure it'll pick up. People will watch it later. But yeah, I'm gonna run a few more of these, and then by the time I'm done with these, I probably never want to see another Grung again. I'm gonna remove them from my Tomb of Annihilation campaign because I'll be sick of them.
Or you'll have a bunch of really good ideas of what they could do or say.
Right.
Yeah, you'd have all this like cool canon stuff that you can include of all the adventures, all the crazy Grun,
So we're going to go ahead and we will sign out of here. I'll go ahead and hit each one of you if you want to plug whatever you want to plug as we head on out of here. So Connor.
Hey, I'm Connor. I played the late Nyep Poop, the croaking dirge, the yodeler of this tribe. I had a blast. I got to play a bard for the first time ever. I've never played a bard before. And it was fun to have a bard with a charisma of 10. So yeah, so I'm half of Dice on Ice. My channel is on YouTube. Probably just search Dice on Ice. We're pretty unique. We're currently running a Kickstarter that ends this weekend for Cryfoth, our our homebrew setting that's gonna kick off and be awesome, I guess. Elevator pitch is like it's this desert blasted world ruled by demons, and the players are these struggling survivors that make their way in a world of evil and tyranny. So check it out if you can or want to. That's about it. That's all I got.
Awesome. James.
I am James from Tabletop Terrors. Yeah, this was great fun. I played Famo, the 5 hit point Grung. So that was a lot of fun. And yeah, this was just great fun. And I definitely can't wait to see what more players and sort of this through line you're talking about, how that ends up. That'll be a lot of fun to see. Awesome.
Lloyd.
Yep, I played a mechanically effective character. That's what I did today. Like I rolled on camera and stuff. I got a 16 strength and a 14 dex, and I was like, okay, I can do a thing, which is great. He was dopey as hell, but it was really, really fun. I definitely think it'd be cool to see that the Displacer Beasts kind of come up again and again throughout the adventures. Yeah, I had a really good time. Thank you.
Well, thank you to Connor, James, and Lloyd, and Drake, who had technical difficulties that caused him to bow out early. Drake, you can find on the RPG Construct, and he and I together form the podcast Something RPG-ish. This has been Mini Terrain Domain. Be sure to check out for more terrain crafting videos, as well as more of the Grungs and Roses Welcome to the Jungle Grung Shots adventures. So full of puns. So full of puns. Thank you all for watching. Imagine, Build, Play. I'm Mini Terrain Domain. Mitted.